So during the week, Ben, we often a little bit of media watch sort of set up here on the Magoos. We see what's been going on. I mean, myself with a degree in journalism, you're a part of the footy landscape.
Oh, degree in journalism.
Yes, which you don't need anymore. You just need to start a WordPress account or have a video camera and a couple of microphones and a comfy couch.
Yeah.
Sure, Taff said this was a comfy couch.
He did.
Not this one, didn't sit on this one. He's not the host.
It's the same sort of couch.
Same set. The deluxe package.
What were you saying?
But media. So one of the great piss takes of all time. Riverside Cricket Club in the Diamond Valley Cricket Association, which is local to us, an opposition of my club, the North Eltham Wanderers. And so one of their ex-committee members saw Mark Tubby Taylor, former Australian Test captain, on safari in South Africa, and they got a photo, and he happened to have his Riverside hat with him, and Mark was wearing it, whatever. So I think they put a little bit of a gag post out on social media or something, which then garnered a call from a journalist who went straight to the president, and the president's given him the we're in talks with him. And so the Herald Sun have run this full article about it, and it's gone on Facebook, everyone taking the absolute piss out of them, and it's so great.
New sponsor in Fujitsu as well down there.
Australia's favourite air. Welcome to the round 22 episode of the Magoos. Ben, we are back again.
We are.
No surprise that we are without a guest this week, which means we are without a Jack, of course.
You nailed it.
So it's just...
So if the camera's a little shaky, we
just becoming... Or if it's a little off-centre, which it looks it might be.
Or maybe that's just because you're wearing one shoe.
No, I've just realised that I've been sitting next to a microwave for the whole year, so I've probably been fried.
Radioactive over there.
Too many jellicas.
What do you got? It's actually, I know I say it at the start of every round, it's heating up, but it's actually heating up, Jake.
Sound like Dwayne Russell over there.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm going for. Not really.
So, we had as the end of the season, the end of the home and away season draws closer, that obviously means that we're getting closer to the finals, which means we're getting closer to some answers to some questions that you, I, and the entire media landscape have been wanting for some time in terms of who misses the 8, who makes the 8, top 4, who can beat Richmond, all this stuff. It feels like it's felt for some time like maybe we were never going to get the answers, but we're getting close.
Yeah, since doing the podcast, I agree with that because you're actually more invested in the footy, just that little bit more than you normally are.
And you don't seem overly invested in the footy. You don't watch.
I'm just not invested in the media shit that comes with the footy. I love the football. I love watching the footy.
How many games you watch on the weekend?
Oh, last week I watched, I think, 6.
6?
I watched a lot of games. Not all of them. You can't watch all of them. Some are on at the same time. They overlap on Saturday Arvo.
Okay, you could record them, but that's okay. It's not important.
I think we can agree, though, there's 6 teams that are a lock at the minute? Let me check
6.
that.
I've got my ladder here.
Well, Sydney is 6th with 52 points, and I think 52 gets you in.
Sydney will miss out.
Yeah? Why is that?
In my humble opinion, they'll lose their last 2 games for mine.
Okay, and then the Cats will win both their last games? Is that what you're saying?
So I've got Sydney losing to the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got them losing to the Hawks at the SCG.
Okay.
And
I've got... off to a fly, we're already disagreeing.
Yeah, Sydney. I just think Sydney will miss out.
They've definitely been slipping, but then getting wins at the same time.
I mean, they're hard to write off the Bloods, aren't they? But because many have done that previously. They've won their last 2 games. They got up off the canvas against Melbourne in an inspiring performance, which we will talk about later.
We can definitely talk about that later. So you've got Sydney missing at 6.
I've got Sydney missing, yeah.
You've got Melbourne and Port 7 and 8, both on 48 points.
Geelong will finish 7th. Melbourne will finish 6th. I think Melbourne win one of their last 2.
Well, if Geelong don't make the finals with the 2 teams they got coming up...
Oh, they'll make the finals.
Yeah, well, I'm just a hypothetical. But if they don't, that's a pretty poor year, you'd say, wouldn't it be?
Oh, my Lord.
With that list as well.
Yeah.
Lordy, yes.
If Geelong if somehow they don't make the finals, which
it's certainly possible.
I know it's possible, but you look at their draw.
Both at the category.
I can't see yet. I mean...
But Freo with 5... But I know I keep saying that about Freo, that they're just going to upset someone one of these days. And you're shaking your head. You shake your head at me a lot. One of these days, some of the things actually do come true.
Like what? Name one.
Well, the tipping from last week.
Name 2.
The one. So you've got Cats coming in for Sydney.
Correct.
And is Melbourne staying in?
Yep. So I've got Richmond, West Coast, Hawthorn, Collingwood as your top 4.
Okay, GWS to slip. No, I think GWS will stay in there.
Well, I've only got the GWS because I think Melbourne will win one of their next 2.
So I disagree. I think they're going to. Okay. I think they're going to lose both those.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily think that it will be against GWS, but I think Melbourne will win one of West Coast or GWS. So I'm happy to. I still think GWS are a real danger, an ever-present danger, but I've just got them finishing 5th on the basis that Melbourne win one of them, and if they happen to be the GWS game, then I'm sort of happy with 4th, 5th, Collingwood, GWS in either order.
Yeah.
And then obviously Hawthorn are in that same.
Yeah. Did you have Hawks in the 4? Sorry.
I did. So 3rd, 4th, and 5th for mine will be Hawthorn, Collingwood, GWS, which is no surprise. But I'm not sold on which order that'll be. So 2 of them will get top 4 spots, and then I've got Melbourne, Geelong, Port Adelaide, and Port Adelaide will just limp there and get pulverised by whoever they play.
I think in Port the first will drop final. Out of the 8, and I said that a few weeks back when they were 4th on the ladder, actually, and I stand by that.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, good for you.
That was a little
win,
a little lucky,
win.
I'll take that win. Well, it's not a win yet because they're still in.
It's true, they're still there.
They have who do they have this week?
Collingwood, is that right?
They have Collingwood, at the MCG. And then they finish with my boys on a Friday night at Adelaide Oval. However, few injuries. If they don't beat Collingwood this weekend, we're a red hot sniff just to get it done. Just because we obviously if we lose to Richmond this week, which
you can't make the finals, Ben.
No, but wouldn't it be great to knock out Port on the last game?
Yeah, but you tend to see the results this time of year are the teams that have something to play for. Like, can you imagine? I know that the players are meant to be, nice, professional, whatever, but I'm thinking if teams rock up, the Essendon players would be wrapped right when that round 23 fixture came out, although now they know their season's pretty much over, and it will be anyway.
Why is that?
So, they're going to have a big weekend in front of them, I think, those boys. So they're happy to get it out of the way.
I think Richmond are due for a loss.
I'm not talking this week, I'm talking Port Adelaide the week after. So Richmond won't lose to Essendon this week, mind you.
I think we're a sniff.
I don't think so. No, wrong answer, Ben.
They need a healthy loss at this stage of the year at the MCG.
Yeah, but they're not going to get it off a very unhealthy Essendon. That's what.
Well, they're not unhealthy. They had a couple injuries on the weekend.
A couple? 4?
Yeah, but most of I think 2 or 3 will be playing.
Okay, but they're sore. They're sore. The Bombers are sore.
That's all right. They got ticker, I reckon.
Yeah, they've proved that throughout the year.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, so back to the Port. I just think if Port Adelaide are playing for a spot in the finals and Essendon are rolling up with one eye on getting back to Melbourne so they can start drinking, not saying that might be what they would do, but end of the season AFL players, it's sort of Friday night, maybe spend the night in Adelaide, see what.
Put it this way:
see what
if
the city
we do
churches
lose
have
to Richmond, I wouldn't mind losing to Port so that North don't get in. Because between you and I and everyone who listens, fuck North Melbourne.
Can they?
They can get in there on 44 as well as Essendon, and they've got a relatively easy run. But then again, they lost to the Dogs.
North are done. North are cooked.
They're just... You don't want to see them make because they won't do anything when they're in there.
But Sydney will finish above them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so North can't get in.
No, well, I'm saying I think personally Melbourne and Port will both drop out. And I think the Cats and someone else will get in over them.
Really?
Yeah.
Someone else you're just choosing. So you think Essendon...
Someone else, well, it'd be more likely North than anyone. But then there's that little bit of me that reckons the Bombers are still ticking.
Dear me. So anyway, we heard the Scott brothers talking about the ladder predictor. And obviously you and me have spent a bit of time on it. So you are a ladder predictor man?
Guilty. As I think someone who's just outside the 8... You're a ladder predictor man because you're just like, well, what if we did this, but then they lose to that, and then it's Alan from The Hangover all over again. It's just,
we spoke about that with Jack Fitzpatrick, didn't you? When he was thinking about his celebration.
He looked like
comes up.
That's called a recall.
That is a recall. Head back to our round 7 episode to see our interview with Jack Fitzpatrick.
What's round 7? Well done.
No, I just remember you said it.
I am to answer your question, and it's changed every single week. I screenshot it from about 4 weeks ago, so we'll see if that. So I was just like, one of those sort of.
Why not? We will check the timestamp.
What about yourself? Are you?
Oh yes, obviously.
You are.
Yeah. But I'm not a great tipper, so it's like
you tend to overthink things.
Well, it's like I do the ladder and I go, that's exactly how it's going to finish, and then I get 4 tips right, and I go, that was all wrong. But so I love it's a great little invention, the ladder predict. Even local footy's got it now. They got ladder predictor. You can put in the scores and see where.
So it's just an algorithm, so it's not that difficult to make something like.
No, it's just as if you're putting in the results, but it's not in the results page pretty much. So you can change the margins and all that. So it's good fun. But the Scott boys had one of them talking about. Chris at Geelong was talking about how often he does a ladder predictor, and then Brad said, "I'm not going to sit there doing ladder predictors." So,
the twins aren't the same after all.
Yeah, that's correct.
Both flogs, but
okay, well, your decision. So we also had a couple of suspensions in the round just gone, which was round 21. We had your man Adam Sard taken out by Nathan Brown of St Kilda. Give us your thoughts.
My thoughts on the bump or the 3 weeks?
Go with the bump first because we'll cover the penalty. We did a Twitter poll about the penalty, which we'll talk about later.
Okay, well,
but give me your thoughts on the bump
alone. As an Essendon supporter, you would think, he's going to be like, what, a dog or whatever. But I tend it was very late, so late. I reckon Sard could have had a cup of tea in that time. But I also think that Sard could have had a quick squeeze out the corner of his eye and seen him come. He could have I thought he could have braced himself. I reckon it was that late where he sort of just was. Obviously, wasn't.
But you can't be running around the ground brace. Like you just said, it was that late.
He was in that peripheral vision. I thought.
Yeah.
And when you're taking on that many plays, as Sard often does, someone's going to be close. So
I saw it initially, and I thought, gee, his neck looked like that hurt, and I thought Brown's fine. And then I watched it several times, and I thought, and I know that the slow motion, but he comes from so far away. At first, I don't think I took in how late it was.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was just that he wasn't braced for contact because it wasn't, reasonable to think that contact was coming.
How late it was.
And it was just... And, I mean, I think the bump itself was well executed. No, thank you. I'll get my own. That was me picking up my pen for those audio listeners out there who didn't see Ben offering me his. I wasn't laughing at the bump itself. But he just wasn't. The bump itself was executed well, and if he had been braced for it, his neck wouldn't have snapped back like it did because it didn't hit him high. I don't think it was the impact that sort of threw his head around. So it was a nasty. I thought, and we will get to the punishment, but. We'll talk about that when we hit the socials, but I didn't think he'd get 3 weeks. We'll start with that.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
But, did you want to get into the socials on that?
We might as well, I guess.
Might as well. They're correlated, so...
I'm also keen to talk to you while we sort of have a bit of a flick through the socials. Here's Twitter loads. Taylor Walker's tackle.
Yeah.
He was suspended as well.
He got 2, yes? Yeah.
Yeah. For his tackle that knocked out Josh Kelly.
Yeah. What are my thoughts on that?
Yeah. It's just something that not as crept in the game because I think players are more aware of their duty of care now with that tackle, but that was heavy. But I thought he was letting him go as he sort of came down to the ground.
Bingo. I thought I was going to be on my own with that one, but I
know that it was a heavy tackle and the ball had come out, but I think what makes it even more farcical is that the umpire plays holding the ball and then the non-controlling umpire goes, "Oh no, he threw him to the ground."
That's where
because the original umpire could see everything. It wasn't as if but.
Yeah, I mean,
we wonder why people are confused.
But I don't like it when someone says duty of care. What are you, 100 kilos? What's heavy, 85?
Yeah, the weights.
You're on the footy field. It doesn't
the
matter
weights,
how much
the weight
you weigh. When they did that for Natanui, I could not believe that. That was a change.
Remarkable, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was almost like a change. And okay, these guys are. This is a different sort of game now.
So our Twitter poll on @the_Magoos_.
Yep.
Nathan Brown has been suspended for 3 weeks for his hit on Adam Sard. What do you think of the penalty, Magoos community? We had 2 lenient, 2 harsh, or just right. A little bit like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. 2 lenient was 9%, so no one thought he should have got... 9%, sorry, I should have said no one. I just told you what the percent was. 9% of people thought that he could have got 4 or more.
Okay. There's always that 8-9% who are just do you even watch football? Do you follow footy?
No, they're just trolling us. I think.
They are.
55% of people thought it was too harsh, so with us.
Okay, yeah. And then what's the...
We're in the same... And then just right, Goldilocks was 36%.
So that's still pretty high. 36?
It was pretty much a 2-horse race, wasn't it? So
I was honestly surprised when they said 3. I thought 2 would have been just perfect. 1 to 2 even.
Yeah, 2 was probably, 1 for... Because it wasn't that high. I just reckon 1 for the impact, 1 for the...
Yeah. I think we can agree that in the off-season, the AFL seriously need to come up with I know like nothing's black and white, but they need to go, are we just paying more for what ends up happening like as the result? So Sard was concussed.
I'll tell you what I've done.
Yeah, well, you got to... It's like a ladder predictor for players who could get concussion.
No. What I was thinking the other day, you know how I changed my stance on red cards last week and I thought it can work?
Yeah.
I've changed again. I've changed back. So what I'm thinking now is I had a good think about this the other day. And what I've thought is, right, so people are saying that, you know, if a player goes off the ground concussed, you know, the person who concusses him, you know, it's not fair, the lopsided, you know.
Yeah.
If it happens in a grand final. What I think you'll see then is the soccer acting. I think that will open the door for that type of, you know, like I'm staying down, I'm on the ground, you know, and hopefully it's not an umpire's call with the red card. But so if someone goes down and it looks a nasty incident, but it hasn't had the effect on the player, and so they then pretend that it does in order to get that player sent off. So I just think
slippery slope after that.
Yeah, and I mean, if it is in the umpire's hands, then look out. If it is a video reviewer who takes 3 or 4 minutes, maybe. But you just hate to see.
And do we need to take more time off the game as it is?
Yeah.
And as people have stated, it doesn't happen often enough. Although it has, ironically, in the last month, it has happened a little bit. But you're right. We've spoken about this on the show before that coaches aren't dumb. And like as in terms of when there's a rule change, they know how to manipulate those rules. Yeah. Like with the deliberate out of bounds or all these sort of things. It's going to be the same, as you said. Like there's going to be more acting, which is going to look 10 times worse for the game than a head high bump.
Than a hit. Yeah. So again, while we're on the socials, we will stay with another poll we did, which one of my favourite things that the AFLPA do is the 22 under 22.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's cool. It's just something, and it sort of gives you a little bit of perspective on some of the players, and you go, how is he only?
Yeah. Last year's one, there was a couple in there that I was like, wait, he's 22. Ollie Wise, I think?
Yeah, Cripps. Those, like, because Cripps is 23, and Merritt's still available in the 22.
That's
even Bontempelli.
That's insane.
Like, and you think...
Is Bontempelli only under 22?
Yeah. I think he is 22.
Jeez, I could have sworn he was 23 or 4.
No, don't swear, Ben. He's not. He's 22. Isaac Heaney. So we put out
Isaac Heaney.
So we went through what we thought was the best 4. The young social media intern went through it for the best... if you could only choose one of the following young midfield stars: Marcus Bontempelli, Isaac Heaney, Clayton Oliver, Zach Merritt. Goggles off. If you take it.
Okay. No, well, who was the first one again?
Marcus Bontempelli. Remember him?
Yeah, no, I remember him. So what's the... geez, that's tough. I'd actually take Bontempelli.
Okay, well, 25% of people agreed with you.
Okay.
18% want Heaney.
Yep.
14% take Zach Merritt, and 43% take Clayton Oliver.
43 for Clayton Oliver.
And we got a tweet from Aaron Geary who said he was taking Dan Rioli. But Dan Rioli's a little bit more of a forward. I mean, he's going to be a great player.
Yeah. And big listener of the show as well, Aaron.
Yeah. But I think that Rioli is probably more, and also hasn't shown.
Well, I also think there was a bit of sarcasm. I think there was a bit of goggles.
It's very Richmond. He's a very Richmond man.
Rioli's a gun. I'm not saying he's not. Lord, but these 4 that you've just mentioned.
Yeah. We're talking about if they're not A+ players, then they're
on their way.
A's and 3.
Yeah, I mean the reason it's interesting. Poll, you've done it now as well. The intern has done it now. Because Oliver and Bont's last couple of games have been...
Yeah, Bontempelli's I think he's starting to get a bit shaking off some injury woes, and he's starting to feel a bit better about himself.
He finds the goals so well.
He's
got that height.
I think that, they're all good. They're all like excellent players. So, Zach Merritt, he's going to win a Brownlow. Zach Merritt one day, he'll win a Brownlow.
Boy, do I hope so.
Doesn't guarantee team success, obviously, but
no.
But nice. And even so I just what this 22 under 22 gives me is that I think a lot of the time when we lose the greats of the game, you sort of think, where's the game going? We're not going to have and I think you can sort of get caught in the past, and you don't really realise that these guys when they become superstars, and I think that only a year older than these guys are Josh Kelly, Patrick Cripps, they're like superstars.
Yeah.
And like, so is this list. And then, you add Rioli and you add Jordan De Goey's in 22 under 22. I didn't put him on this.
Jordan De Goey?
Yeah, I didn't put him on this because I think he's more of a forward. I mean, could very well. What? No or yeah?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. Come on, Ben.
I thought you were just going to keep going over the top of that.
But
yeah, I see why you did. Or you could have put other.
Maybe next week I could do a forwards poll.
I mean, the intern could do a forwards poll. Yeah,
true. So I really like the 22 under 22. I think over the next week or so, follow us on the socials at Jake Lambert 23 and
Ben Franzini 01.
Yeah, 01.
Yeah, 01. Sorry, 01.
We might post up we'll retweet
Thanks,
it from the
Mr.
Magoos anyway.
Lambert.
Well, if people are searching, that would be
it comes up anyway. Did you know there's another Ben Franzini out there? Couldn't believe it.
$90.
Unbelievable.
And we also we'll do our 22 under 22. We'll get that out there, and we'll see what the people think of them. We also had from another loyal listener of the show a question asked to us by @divn, who is a long-time listener of the show.
He is.
Good
Carlton fan, I believe.
Carlton fan, yeah. He asks us, and I'm assuming you more in particular, but I'll have an opinion on it regardless. Are you guys a fan of the wildcard weekend scenario, e.g. 7v10, 8v9, playoff for the final two spots in the 8, with 7 and 8 having the home ground advantage? #scenes.
No. Straight up no.
I like the idea of something like that, but in an 18-team comp, I think that if you're extending a final series, if you then had 9 play 12 and 10 play 11, I think, and then you were going bigger, because you can't have only 6 sides guaranteed to make in an 18-team comp. And then all of a sudden, you're 7 and 8. I just think when you've got so many teams, you've got more than half your teams missing out on the finals as it is.
Yeah.
I think the only way you can go forward is to make that number bigger, because really these teams can't win the flag. 7 and 8 in this, if they have a wild card weekend, can't win the flag.
And if you're getting a bit sore in that time of the year and it doesn't actually mean much, from a professional point of view, you're not going to want to risk too many injuries.
And I mean, how often?
Plus, flights to Bali are a lot cheaper during that time for those teams.
Yeah, and can you imagine that? Like, just looking at it from how I just sort of set it up. Then imagine if so the 9th team plays 12th, and then you finish 12th, and you would have got about pick 6, you end up winning the flag. Like,
oh yeah,
there's your #scenes right there.
Yeah,
I mean, it just wouldn't happen because you'd have to play 5 knockout games in a row.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit of a headache with the new sort of like, what if we do this? Or what if we just
the 7-5
the game's doing pretty well. Yeah, especially the last month or so, it's been pretty good footy.
If they get the fixtures right, then the game's in a sweet spot.
Fixtures one, I don't mind that argument a couple of weeks back. I think, what was the 17-5?
Yeah, I'm happy with just 17, I think.
Just straight?
Maybe add a cup, maybe
it's a long year. It's a long year. And they're long games.
Yeah, I reckon you could work in we're not going to go in this rabbit hole, but you could work in another
notes on it.
Work in another bye there, I think, and you'd be all right.
Yeah. What, and then scrap the bye coming into finals?
Something like that, yeah, and just be, you can, because I don't think there's anything wrong with having only 6 games or 7 games on a weekend.
No.
I don't think you can have radio silence in between, but I think if you played, I know that, you then have to fill in some time and find some other things to do, but they've also got
Magoos on there.
They could. They've also got a little competition they call AFLW that has sort of really been slid to the side, so they could probably put that in some sort of prime time, so it doesn't have to compete with tennis and those sort of things. I think they could work that a bit better and change the timing, but we can.
Yeah, that's a different podcast altogether.
We can look in. Yeah, that's at the Magoo's W.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, it wouldn't be you and me. It'd be
we'll take a week
female
off.
Counterparts.
Yeah, it'd be play takeover. W. Takeover.
Nice. Benny, about time to jump into some of our segments.
Some of the best.
Yeah, some of our regular moments of the show that I know people tune in for, so I will kick us off. Actually, a little bit of a heavy-hearted Magoo's moment of the week this week. We 2 weeks ago, we paid tribute to the returning Alex Johnson from the Sydney Swans, and as everyone knows, and as this goes to air, it's been spoken about and confirmed that he has done his ACL, and he will have a knee reconstruction. It's a different knee. Not exactly sure the history on both, but I know this was his better knee.
Yeah.
So I think that you could just see that raw emotion on Sunday afternoon was just incredible. Like, it actually, and I don't want to over dramatise it all, but it actually felt like a bit of a death. Like, even the response on social media and stuff, and you could see his teammates, and that's only because they know how much he's gone through, and they talk about how dark and lonely the rehab phase is, and I mean, you don't want to write him off, but you got to think that it's probably you got to think that it's close to career over, don't you? And even if he gets back and right, Alex is gonna, and the Sydney Swans gonna have these decisions to make, but so I think for the Magoo's moment this week, we just sort of paying a bit of a tribute to the work that Alex Johnson did to get back, and in the same breath wishing him all the best. And if we see him back on an AFL field, that'd be fantastic. But if we don't, I think that he's put absolutely everything into where he's got to now. I mean, he's a premiership player.
We can't take that away from him.
Yeah, never. Unfortunately, probably hasn't. He hasn't gone on with the career as he would have liked to post that moment.
No.
But so the Magoo's moment of the week, on a slightly different note to how he won it 2 weeks ago, is Alex Johnson, again, hoping for a speedy and healthy recovery. And should it be the end of his AFL career, all the best post now and post-operation, all the rest of it. But if we see him again, then be prepared to see another Magoo's moment, I reckon.
He might win the yearly award. Magoo's moment of the year.
Well,
sort of.
I don't tell you how to do your segments.
Well, you do off camera. You're like, mate, you got to
talk because you're just sitting there in silence.
You got to stop doing them.
Yeah, so that's my Magoo's moment. Ben,
it sounds a lot to me like you didn't really have one, and you've just sort of gone, I don't know.
No, well, there was a lot of
using poor
Well,
Alex.
The thing is that Dale Morris played really well, but that is what I did last week. He was as Dale Morris.
Wasn't that great? Dale Morris
just
had a great
Dale
game.
Morris things.
Yeah, it does. He actually does.
And so I just felt like it was necessary to recognise Alex, and if we have seen the last of him as an AFL player, then I think it's fitting that he gets the Magoo's Moment of the Week award this week.
Good on him, Alex.
What do you got for Kane Corns?
What have I got for
Mr. Prepared?
I've got a couple of notes here just down here. Alex John. No, well, don't give me that look.
Well, you just give... No, it doesn't matter.
It's a joke, mate. But anyway, moving on.
We're in stitches.
Hey?
Nothing. Go on.
This one, this week I'm giving it to the Geelong coach, Chris Scott.
Yep.
He's been bugging me for a little while now. By a little...
bugging me.
He's just been really... Like, you wake up sometimes, you just... Chris Scott. Nah, I think he's a very arrogant individual, and I think it showed the last few weeks. I mean, I honestly reckon if he didn't win the flag in his first year as a coach, I don't know if he'd be there or if his name would be up.
Well, they rate him in the coaching fraternity as one of the hardest coaches to coach against.
Okay, that's fair enough. This is just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm just merely adding that to the conversation.
I just find it interesting though. Like they're not necessarily going to make the finals at the moment.
Yes,
but you
true.
think they will, and they probably with their run home with Freo and who else have they got? The Suns. They should make it. If they don't, then that's just a travesty. But you think about, they got Danger, Selwood, Ablett, Hawkins, Duncan, Kelly, all these names, yet they're still not even...
I love how Tim Kelly's a name.
Tim Kelly, isn't he?
Oh, he's a super player.
He's actually a superstar.
Super player,
you're right, at the start of the year, but that's even more reason why they should be pushing for the 4, not the 8.
Yeah, I agree, but...
and it's more to do with comments as well, like a post-match, etc. Like 2 weeks ago, he came across as a bit cocky when he said that, Richmond are beatable, and it's like, well, he is right, but at the same token, like, you might not get to play him again. Like, you're not necessarily there. Like, if you had beaten him, you probably would get the chance to. But and then on this weekend, we already spoke about it earlier. He was saying how he's done the ladder predictor 500 times. It's like, Instead of doing a ladder predictor, why don't you?
I think that's a bit of a short-sighted comment, as if he's like,
I think that just
as if while they're out there training, he's
just
going,
yeah,
you boys do what you want.
But you know what? It actually wouldn't surprise
I'm
me
on
if
me
he was
lappy,
doing
just
that.
doing the...
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, well, disagree.
Yeah, well, that doesn't matter because I don't tell you how to do your segment. Chris Scott, Kane Corns of the week.
Excellent.
Hope you don't make the finals.
Just a segment that is
Go
gathering momentum.
It's hard when you're pushing back all the time. I bag a bloke in the media and you're like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, well, you can't do that. You shouldn't have gone after Paddy Dangerfield.
Well, I did.
Let's talk
In
quickly.
week 3.
Did you watch the West Coast Port Adelaide game?
Oh, I did.
And the finish to that.
Yeah.
Talk about a grandstand finish.
Absolutely amazing. And were you backing? Were you rooting for West Coast in that last quarter or no? So I was just based off percentage and ladder and Essendon.
And you saying Port wouldn't make the final.
Well, there was that. I don't. If they make it, I'm not going to be like
Port were home and they really shit the
They
bed.
shit the bed big time.
I know that they had injuries and Dixon was gone and Ryder's gone, but
even that last 2 minutes, they had every
my
opportunity
Lord,
to
90
seal
seconds,
that.
how to not, even because West Coast were even playing into their hands, they were so slow getting out of the back half, and then they kicked. I think it was actually from Jeremy McGovern about 90 seconds earlier before he kicked to win the game. Went across the ground and it sort of scrubbed, and the Port Adelaide player came across and missed it, and then it just opened that whole side of the ground up. But even when they scored a goal and they had 40 seconds or 20 seconds left, whatever it was, even from then, you just, the way they set up, and I mean, it's been done to death on all the footy analyst shows and whatever about who was playing on who and all that sort of stuff and where the spare man was. I think just how to lose a game in 90 seconds.
From my perspective, it was also when Port Adelaide had the ball in the last 90 seconds or 2 minutes. They did things that was very inexperienced. They didn't soak up the clock. They didn't kick backwards when they had the chance. They would just go long down the line and quickly as well, and would just turn it over. And it's happened a couple of times. Melbourne's done it as well. And those are the signs where it's like, well, these teams might be in the finals, but they can't go deep if that's the sort of stuff they're trying to do.
Nah, and I mean Melbourne, in that same breath, is 0-7 against teams inside the top 8.
Top 9 too, I believe they haven't been.
Top 9, sorry, okay, yeah. And then I think 12-1 for those outside. Nasty.
Well, this is why
are they flat?
This is why
I think they're a good, but I think that they're a good side, but that sort of record surprises me a little bit because they are good.
Yeah, that would be even louder in the microphone than what I heard. To carry on,
they are good, but
I told my housemate, not that you burped, I will tell him later. He's a mad Demon supporter. I told him before the Sydney game that statistic, and he refused to believe it. He's like, "Nah, that's not true." and then I saw him on his phone for 15 minutes. He goes, "Oh shit, that's right." It's so unbelievable.
I think that it's because they're filled with this confidence, Melbourne, and I think
that or Melbourne.
Well, I think their supporters they hammed up a little bit, but I think that mid-year they were absolutely talking flags, many of the media world were. I know they beat Carlton Adelaide back-to-back by 100 points, and they were talking flags. Yeah, and I know because several of them talked flags to me. And I said, just wait, we'll just watch what's going on. You haven't been.
It's really Carlton. You should look
because we're the sleepy giant.
No, I agree though. So is this the definition of flat track bully?
I think it might be.
I think it.
But I mean, we see, can they bounce back against West Coast over there, and then they're playing for their lives potentially?
Yeah.
GWS
they win one
of
these games, make the finals, which one of these wins should do.
Yeah.
Then that home and away stuff doesn't necessarily matter. It's like it doesn't matter who you beat and who you haven't.
Because if you're there, you've qualified, and anything.
I do personally sort of want to see them do well. I know you do that for any team though, like that. You always just
GWS can win the flag. I'm happy with that this year.
Well, just because you have no GWS supporter mates who'll tell you about it. Is that's the only reason? It's been a long time for Melbourne. I don't mind if it's longer.
Yeah, because the more teams that win it who are in a bigger drought than Carlton. I mean, Carlton dropped to the longest unsuccessful list.
So you're like doing a ladder predictor, but with years gone by in premierships.
Yeah. That's where I'm at.
That's pathetic.
Bring on the draft.
Jake?
Okay, Benny, just before we wrap up the round 22 episode of the Magoos, what have you got for this weekend? The games, there's obviously plenty going on. On the field, a bit of the off-field talk sort of dropped away. We had Jackie Rewald absolutely dominating up at the Gold Coast. Great story, actually. A friend of mine who I went to uni with works at Fox Footy.
Name dropping?
AFL 360. Didn't tell you his name. Sam. Sam. And Jack Rewald often goes on Chrissy, Sam and Brownie on Nova. And he told the story on that Sam sent him a text message in the pre-game saying, we've just run a package on you kicking goals, whatever. It'd be great if you kick a bag of 10. And then, Jack didn't see that. Yeah. Jack didn't see that because he was already in the pre-game and locked the phones away. And then after the game, he got a text. Sam texted him again and said, yeah, perfect, thanks for that. And then he got them sort of both at once when he looked back at it.
Well done. Did you watch some of that game?
Not a second. I saw the highlights, saw Jack's highlights. But I saw... I think in the first quarter, Richmond were 4-4 and Jack Rewald kicked 4-3.
Yeah, and he outscored them in the end, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. I always love seeing that, Jack Rewald 10-6 to GW.
It's happened against Carlton a couple of times. Not necessarily Jack, but Tom Lynch and the like.
Yeah. So he's now leading the... Did Ben Brown kick enough to take...
I think they're either level or Ben Brown's still just in front.
Jeez, that's another little thing that you got to keep a little eye on. Yeah, there should be a Coleman predictor.
Well, you just do maths. You just go like this. You just go Ben's current total plus what he kicks.
Plus who they're playing. Who's your prediction then for the Coleman? Just go with it.
Ben Brown.
Oh, I'm going to say Rewald. He is hot.
Put a slab of mountain goat on it.
Who are our new sponsors? No, they're not.
No, you can't say that. Yeah, legally you can't
say that.
Can't say it. Big games this week, Ben. You think Richmond Essendon's a big game. I think Richmond win comfortably.
Yeah, well, last week your tips were awful. I replayed the show and I thought, hang on, I wouldn't mind seeing this. And I think I got one wrong.
Oh, one wrong.
Which was the Doggies game. Didn't think they'd get up. Good on them.
Good on the Dogs. So we'll go through them.
Okay.
We'll go through your tips again. Why not? Richmond Essendon at the G.
Essendon.
Wrong. Richmond. Collingwood Port Power at the G.
Collingwood.
Geelong, Fremantle. We sound like our mate Cooter. That's who we sound like. We're doing the tipping. He does it with his young son. Make sure you give him a follow on the socials. Geelong,
he needs it.
Fremantle at GMHBA.
I'm going to go roughing. I'm going to say Fremantle.
Fremantle and Geelong season, you reckon, on Saturday afternoon?
Yeah.
Wrong. GWS Sydney Swans.
GWS.
Correct. Gold Coast, Brisbane.
Brisbane.
Gold Coast.
Okay.
Probably not.
No, their team is awful
bad,
at the minute.
Yeah.
Really
That's
bad.
a bad tip. I'm tipping Brisbane. St Kilda, Hawthorn at Etihad. Hawthorn. Carlton, Western Bulldogs at Etihad.
Doggies.
Oh, okay. Carlton. Tipped them last week too, Carlton.
Well,
West Coast, Melbourne at Optus Stadium.
West Coast at home. Haven't been great there. Like they haven't. It's not a fortress there.
I'm tipping the D's.
Okay.
That'll be the game they win.
That'd be won't they be ecstatic if they win that?
Yeah,
obviously
they'll be on the red eye, happy as Larry. And then to round out round 22, Adelaide Crows and North Melbourne at Adelaide Oval.
Adelaide.
Yeah,
purely because I want North to lose one more game.
Just one.
Well, they can lose both if they want to.
They could lose the last game of the
season. Because I think it was only 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, there was a few North supporters saying we have the easiest run home. It's like, well, you've already fucked that, haven't you? I mean, you've already botched that.
You stuffed that, you duffers.
Yeah.
Okay, Benny, I reckon that might just about do us. Some of your best work, as always.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
So, thank you, Magoo's viewers. Thought you needed a little bit
you
more
waiting
there.
for me to
just
say
to give something.
And you too.
Thank you, Magoo's viewers, again, for tuning in. Video camera working a treat. Didn't miss Jack. It still looks off-centre, that camera setup, but I'm sure we'll...
What if I move here?
Yeah, it doesn't...
It's me, it's not the couch.
Okay. It's the problem's you, yeah. So enjoy the round of footy, everyone. We are getting close to the business end. It's getting very, very exciting. So...
Go the Bombers.
Enjoy the footy. Hopefully your team wins unless you barrack for the Bulldogs because... Go the Blues. So
don't be that host. I hope your team wins and you have a great life.
Well, because I do not wish for those things for anyone. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe on all the socials. We've got some ripping content there. There was a great meme we made of Mr. Burns and Mick Moldhouse last week.
Caught me off guard. I didn't know about it. I wasn't aware of it.
So who made it? We'll never know.
I laughed. Good on you, intern.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We will see you next week.
See you guys.